This is Propy's weekly webinar. I'm your host today, Joe Badelli, Chief Revenue Officer of Propy. And with me co-hosting is Propy's Senior Success Manager, Gwyneth Iredale. Gwyneth, how are you today?
All right. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And we'll announce our guests here momentarily, but on Propy's weekly webinar, this is where we bring the latest in technology and innovations within the real estate industry. And if you've been following Propy, or if you have not, couple first. Propy was just awarded by the World Economic Council Technology Leadership Award, as well as recently Propy just completed the first ever residential real estate transaction as an NFT. So today's topic, we're going to talk a little bit more about what happens when an agent receives a question of using crypto to acquire a home. What does blockchain and real estate mean, and why should transactions and title and escrow adopt blockchain as a system of record? And more hopefully, when our other guest, Lee Bratcher from the Texas Blockchain Council, joins us, we'll talk a little bit more about what is the state of Texas doing with blockchain. So I'd like to welcome our first guest, Sonya Cunningham. Sonya is with Cooper Sotheby's. Sonya, can you give a little bit of background for our audience and attendees?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm with Cooper Sotheby's in Austin, Texas. I've been selling residential real estate for 18 years. And I've seen a lot of evolutions in the industry through that time, a lot of different markets in that time. It's exciting just to see what's happening now with blockchain. I think it's going to have a huge impact in the real estate industry in the next 5-10 years. And I'm excited to be in the front end of that.
And so the three takeaway, folks, we do want to use this opportunity during our webinars, and it's only 20-30 minutes long. We try to keep it short. We value your time. But we do want you to take away some things. So let's get down to it, Sonya. Why real estate should adopt blockchain? What is it going to do for, one, the industry, and two, for a title escrow company and ultimately an agent or a brokerage?
Well, I think that's a great question. That's really the heart of this. So there's three kind of main benefits, I think, for blockchain and real estate. So the three ones are efficiency, money and savings, and then kind of security and reliability. When we look at efficiencies, particularly with like title, if title was on the blockchain and all that information was accessible to everybody, then we kind of remove the need for an intermediary or somebody to facilitate that. So everything becomes more accessible to us. Transaction timeframes can be reduced, and it actually lowers the cost for everybody, directly benefiting consumers, honestly. As far as putting real estate transactions on the blockchain, I think it will just help speed everything along and eliminate some of the pain points that I think any consumer has experienced. I mean, who hasn't gotten a loan and asked for the same document 5 times? Let's take that frustration out of the process, streamline it, and then that way we can, close the transaction quicker, a little bit more joyfully, and everybody can be happy with that. As far as kind of like reliability and security, I mean, there's a direct benefit with title in particular, because it eliminates the ability for fraud. And I know that in the United States, it's not as prevalent here, but, lack of clear title is a real problem in the developing world, and it's probably the biggest barrier for people to have any economic mobility. If they can't prove that they own a property, then they're in constant fear that someone's going to take it from them. They can't leverage it, like get a mortgage to make improvements and things like that. So, I mean, those are small examples or big examples, honestly, of how this can improve the whole process. There are many more ways that this can do this. These are kind of like my top 3 main benefits at this point.
And just for clarification, even in the U.S., now we know from Katrina the challenges of having paper in one location. So the U.S. made some improvements, but now whether they overcorrected or they shot too far, it's still paper form in the registry office. There's still many locations have a digital record up on a cloud storage and a third party offsite for redundancy. But now those storage costs actually are tremendous, which keeps the whole cost of transactions high.
Yep.
Can blockchain help reduce some of those costs?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the whole point of blockchain technology is that it's heavily validated information. And so if you validate it along the process at the end point, then it's proven data. And you don't have to have that redundancy and all of those kind of backups per se to support it. I think we're probably very early in the point of adoption where I don't know if governments are going to feel comfortable with that, but in the long term, that's the vision for sure. I mean, if you look at it from like maybe a mundane example as well, like I just had a deal where the previous owner's mortgage release wasn't recorded, and we had to go back to the previous title company and they had to track it down, re-record it, we had to re-examine it, and delayed the whole closing. It was just, it happens all the time.
And for your buyer out there, not only does it delay their closing, that also now impedes on the seller's ability to close on a next property.
Exactly.
So, security, reduce cost. I'm going to say reduced headache, because being in the buying process of having asked for multiple documents and you're scratching your head and say, I already sent them 3 times. Right. Frustration level. It really does help improve the buyer and seller's experience through this process, does it not?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you. And
I would also add the amount of time.
Yeah, efficiencies.
So there is one area on title and escrow. I know in the early process, one of the top questions we get is, well, is this going to eliminate title and escrow? And I don't want to get into what ifs, because there's a lot of what ifs and people have a lot of different opinions where they would like it. But I've seen tremendous input from title and escrow really taking blockchain seriously and starting to make the move towards using blockchain as a system of record. Sonya, you know some title companies in Texas. What do you hear from them? So
the savvy ones, the ones that are leaning into this, I think they generally acknowledge that this is just an evolution, and that title has more of a service than just a title policy. And I don't believe that need is going to ever go away. I just think that their service is going to change. And in many ways, that the internet changed a lot of different services that were provided in real estate. It's just they have to evolve with it and provide a value, and buyers and sellers will see that.
And there's one thing I know from forecasting out and reviewing, we're in low inventory now, but there's still transactions.
Yeah.
And some of the reasons why we're in low inventory, there's many sellers out there, but they can't find that next location. But as things free up, and we later will talk about tokenization, which actually will expand the overall market and create inventory. Isn't it a good thing for an agent to want their processes to be more streamlined, condensed, and a little bit cheaper for the buyer and seller, thus helping to create? And I mean, we can talk about double, quadruple, 10x inventory. Then the question is, do we actually have enough agents, right? And those are the questions that are going to be coming, folks. But now I want to break in. We have Lee Bratcher. Lee is with the Texas Blockchain Council. I'll let Lee do a quick introduction on himself and the Texas Blockchain Council. But Lee, our viewers want to hear, what is the state of Texas doing with regards to blockchain and real estate?
I think you're muted, buddy.
As Lee fixes his mic there, we're getting feedback on Lee's mic. He'll change his input. It's okay, folks. Like the industry, we just move with the flow. Gives me a quick chance to look over. And yes, Italy and Switzerland, Italy's still up 1-0 in the 49th minute of the Euro. Lee, I know you just gave an awesome introduction. We just weren't able to hear it. So we're at the 110-minute mark. Folks, if you're just joining us, we will have recorded broadcasts of today's session on Propy's website, propy.com. That's PROPY.com. Click on resources and then click on webinars. I think we're up to number 62 or 72 in our weekly webinar series. Many past recordings, feel free to go take a look. Topics can range on how agents can win more listings, how to win more deals, how to write better offers. What is NFT? What is crypto? Everything you wanted to know about crypto, real estate, blockchain, and more on propy.com under our webinars. Today,
Hey, Joe, can I give a little plug to something about a service that you guys offer to real estate agents? You guys have a certified crypto agent designation that is incredibly educational. If any real estate agent out there is interested, I recommend that course.
now, Sonya, you did take it. You are a crypto certified agent, are you not?
I'm 2/3 of the way through it. I haven't had the heart to take the test yet. I'm nervous.
All right. So what experience do you have to have experience in crypto or blockchain to take the course?
No, actually, I think it's probably better suited almost for someone who's, doesn't have much knowledge. You guys run down from from start to finish, how to do a, Bitcoin or crypto funded transaction, resources, what type, what is a blockchain, what types of blockchains are out there. It's really, really informative, comprehensive.
Okay. So folks, if you're joining us today and you want to learn more about Propy's Crypto Certified Agent course, you can find that under the Propy website, under products, Crypto Certified Agent. It's $497 for the course. But keep in mind, with that course, you do get a 12-month subscription to Propy's premium package. That's Propy's offer management, as well as its transaction management. And Sonya, how many hours a day are you putting into this course, and how much time do you think it'll take you hour-wise to complete?
It'll probably be about like 5 to 7 at the end of the day. Again, I haven't finished, but the videos are each in an hour chunk, but there's just a lot in there. So I kind of went back and looked more, or did some other parts a second time just to get more information out of them.
Excellent.
Yeah, and if I could just mention that it's designed specifically for residential real estate, okay. Right? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
That it's for residential real estate? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And I don't know if commercial real estate agents, do you think commercial could use it too, or is it specifically for residential?
I would think that the principles transcend to commercial. So I think there'd be a benefit.
Yep.
Okay.
Looks
so
like we're lost Lee.
Oh, Lee's typing back in, but would any of our attendees go ahead if you have any questions to anybody on the panel here or in general, please go ahead and type your questions into the chat box and I'll come back to those. Right now, we're going to go in with Lee. Lee, did you get your mic figured out? Yeah, he has to go down to that little arrow by the mic button and change his speaker input and mic input. So while he does that, we'll go back to any questions. Gwyneth, any questions from our streaming audience? Propy does stream on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Yeah, we have one of the questions, do we have an example of an online real estate business that uses a very specific token? So I'm not sure we know the answer to that. Hedera token service. I bet Lee might know the answer of that.
He does.
He does. Can you type that in?
He's partnering with Hedera Hashgraph on a title registry, I think, pilot program right now. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the suspense is killing me, Lee. Let me know when you want to jump in.
Well, if you could type some answers in the chat, that would be great. And it's specifically an example of a real estate business. So Lee, if you have a suggestion on that.
Hey, Lee, let's try this. You can log in on the voice from your cell phone. Maybe that connection will be better for you. Let's go with Plan B with Lee Bratcher with the Texas Blockchain Council. In the meantime, Gwyneth, any other questions from the live stream audience?
Oh, live stream. Let me check what we have right here, because I know we have a lot more people on live stream. But right here we have on Zoom, are there any tokenized U.S. real estate properties? Because of course, we know that they can be fractionalized. So we're not specifically tokenizing real estate, but maybe the Blockchain Council. Has any property been tokenized in Texas that we're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, well, that may be a future thing. You can certainly purchase properties with tokens, cryptocurrency in our platform, and we can help agents identify that they can accept if the seller chooses crypto. And then we do have Lee typing in.
Well, I like the
yes,
one from, it looks like from Cheryl. Gwyneth, can you go ahead and read the one from Cheryl?
Yep. I've done 4 Bitcoin transactions in Texas in 2017 representing the buyers. We need to convert to cash before closing at this point. Does that matter? That's a question for the panel.
Cheryl, hi, you were my
I'll
colleague.
repeat. Does it matter? Okay, go ahead.
Cheryl's my colleague. We work out of the same office. And that's funny. So Cheryl, I believe what you're saying is that we need to work through an exchange right now to convert crypto to basically give cash to a seller. That is still very much a real thing that's happening right now. But the other option is more of a peer-to-peer transaction where you can send a certain amount of Bitcoin or another crypto to a seller directly, and they'll just accept that, no exchange needed. Both of those are options.
And that's one of the, Gwyneth, go ahead, Lee.
We're working on that.
I'm just going to call, hey, Lee, type your cell phone number in the chat window. I'm going to call you and I'll just do it this way. We're going to go for plan C with Lee now as we move along here.
Not muted. Yeah, you're not muted on our end, Lee. I apologize that we can't help on that. And let's see if there are any.
What is that?
Will you, let's see, will you give us permission to use his audio? Did you give Zoom permission to use your audio, Lee? You did.
So put yours on mute.
Okay, are we on?
Yeah, you got to put all your stuff on mute. It's because you've logged in on multiple windows, so you're getting the feedback. If you just
okay, how are we now?
You're good. Now you can introduce yourself.
I apologize, guys. This is crazy. I was on a Zoom call just before this, and my microphone was working, so not unsure why that happened. But thanks for bearing with me. My name is Lee Bratcher, Texas Blockchain Council. Work with Sonya. Grateful that I have her on the council, working the real estate angle. And yeah, in my day job, I'm a researcher. I teach political science at DBU in Dallas and research blockchain for land registries, and have been very interested in the space for about 5 years now, and been tracking about 40 different pilot programs all across the world, including some in Texas, Wyoming, and Vermont. And of course, the one that Propy's doing is just great work for you guys. I know you all have some actual transactions that you're doing on blockchain in Europe and Eastern Europe. And so just been thrilled to follow y'all over the last several years. As far as pilots in Texas, we're working with several counties. Nothing is actually, we don't have a registry on blockchain yet due to some challenges and logistical challenges that we can get into more. I think one of the most important things to think through, though, as we're thinking about this is there's a book by Hernando de Soto called The Mystery of Capital. And Sonya alluded to this earlier. It's really difficult to replicate what we have in OECD countries with this institution of property rights and real estate transactions. We don't really appreciate how much value that brings to our economy. It's incredible to think through what this could do for the developing world, and also how it can lower transaction costs in the developed world. I think we'll see the innovation happening in the developed world first because they have the most to gain. They need it more. But once we start to realize in the developed world the success that they've been having, we'll see transaction costs lower. And there's space for title companies to innovate, like Sonya and Joe both said. I think we're going to see title companies keeping similar margins, but transaction costs being lower because title companies are able to decrease their costs across the board, record storage. We've talked to title companies in Texas that are using triplicate record stores, hard copy, microfilm, digital, multiple cloud backups. There's just all sorts of duplication that's necessary because we don't necessarily have the right digital infrastructure in place. And there's 254 counties in Texas, and several thousand counties across the United States. Eric's on the line. I think he knows the exact number. I think it's about 5,000 counties across the entire country. So it's going to be a slow process. There's a lot of internal politics between the county clerk, the county judge, the registrar. You got to get everybody on board before you can get a pilot to move forward. So I'll pause with that. And again, apologies for the audio issues. That was quite unprofessional of me. So apologize.
Hey, that's okay. That's what we do in this industry, right? You just move on your feet. So there was a question on, do you have an example of an online real estate business that uses the Hedera token service? Can you elaborate a little more, and we'll come back to that question?
Sure. Yeah, the Hedera token service, Hedera is a strategic partner of ours. So we're very bullish on their network and what they're able to do with their token service. There's a couple different things that they're tokenizing. Not only are they working on tokenizing real estate, but they're also working on tokenizing commodities or other things that work with real estate. If you have real estate, you have natural gas or a lease on it, and you're interested in tokenizing maybe not only the real estate, but also the natural gas in the ground using a proof of reserve report, you can tokenize those things separately, have the ownership rights and then the mineral rights, broken out into two different tokens. And there's just a lot more liquidity much earlier in the process than the traditional finance. And
so Lee, does that mean, and I know a little bit from my oil and gas background, the land registry and the land deeds for oil and gas in Texas, which for the rest of you don't know, it's all, but you sell layers. You sell one property, you sell the layers within the property. Could I tokenize that land by the layers then?
Certainly. We're moving in that direction, and I think we'll get there eventually. It's not allowed at the moment. And there's nothing disallowing it. It's just the technology infrastructure is not set up. We don't have any legislation that needs to be passed to allow it. It's just some infrastructure to be set up. Many on the call may be aware, but the Texas Department of Banking just issued last week guidance to Texas charter banks that banks can custody digital assets. And so whenever, tokenized real estate is included in that, and someone has that in their investment portfolio and they want to hold that in their bank, then you've opened up a whole new playing field for monetizing real estate and the layers of real estate, including mineral rights.
So now in Texas, because I heard your governor of Texas is very crypto friendly, let's say, versus some other states. Does that mean we can see Texas adopting crypto as good funds before other states, do you think?
I'd like to think so. I hesitate to say yes without any power to make that happen. But we are in a privileged position where the governor's been very supportive of the legislation that we worked on, and we certainly will be communicating to his office, working through, obviously other regulators as well, Texas State Securities Board and the Banking Commissioner, to ensure the regulatory framework is ready. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're first out of the gate in that department.
And with that, explain to the audience a little bit, what is the goal and mission for the Texas Blockchain Council?
Sure. So our mission is pretty simple, in the vision. It's just to make Texas a leader in blockchain innovation, and real estate is definitely part of that. One of our 4 committees in the council is real estate, and being my background, not as an agent or in real estate, but researching, title and transactions and registries. I always am an advocate for making sure that that's a big component of what we're doing. But we have 4 different committees. In real estate, obviously, I mentioned financial services, energy and mining being data center mining, and lastly, digital identity. And digital identity is an important component for all of the other 3 components that I mentioned, and including real estate, because we want to really be able to securely track those assets in a digital ecosystem, and think about how much more quickly the closing process becomes when we have a digital wallet with all these different credentials, including our state issued ID, and you're just sharing those through a permissioned key with your closing agent, or with the the broker or whoever you're needing to share it with.
And you bring up mining, and let's talk about the mineral. I'm not talking about the mineral mining, right? Let's stay on the crypto side, because there's talk lately about what's the energy consumption for mining. But in Texas, that statement I think is a little misleading, because in Texas you have a different approach on the mining.
Yeah, we're increasingly becoming renewables focused. Obviously, the state is the largest wind energy producer in the United States, and close to where Germany is. Germany's got more wind than we do, but there's a threshold where we need to break, and we're close to breaking 50% renewables on mining in Texas. It's really difficult to get an exact number, but it's actually better than that. It's better than just doing renewables, because even the non-renewable mining that's taking place in Texas is not taking bandwidth away from your average grid user in Dallas or Houston. It's generating new capacity in West Texas or in a rural area that's actually creating jobs, but also not adding to grid strain, because these miners use demand response pricing. They use controllable load resources. They're able to power down a little bit when demand peaks, and they're able to run at 100% when demand is low. So it's actually a dream base load, an intermittent load for ERCOT, which is many people may not know ERCOT, or maybe you have, because it's been in the news because of Texas, the winter storm Uri. ERCOT is the regulator over energy and power, the grid in Texas. So it's a good narrative in Texas on mining, not only in the renewables, but also using it as the base load to create more grid resilience and grid stability. And that's really important for Texans. And it's important for the ecosystem, because some people, especially legislators that I talk to, they lump in blockchain, and they think about mining, and when they think, well, can we do real estate on blockchain? Because won't that be very intensive, energy intensive? And I had to educate them and say, no, there's a lot of other blockchains. There's a way, cheaper. Hedera, we don't need to put everything on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is valuable because it's a free and fair monetary system. But we can do real estate on, Bitfury does it on the Bitcoin blockchain. That's great. Or you can do it on Hedera, which is 1/100th of the, actually 1/1,000,000th of the transaction costs, lower than what Bitcoin would be. So there's a ton of different systems. I know Propy uses a lot of different technology partners that's really efficient. So we have to educate them about the actual costs of putting this and what we're actually saving on the back end. No one ever thinks about, well, what does the traditional banking system actually cost? Or what is a ream of paper? What is the energy and carbon footprint of a ream of paper every time you close on a house? It's actually pretty significant.
Excellent point. And that brings us to the bottom of the hour. And I just want to recap. We did touch a lot of learning points for you all out here, maybe some more than you wanted. But I think Lee, excellent. I think, thank you for bringing up the carbon footprint, because I think there's a lot of misunderstandings as new technology gets evolved, and we like to keep everyone with just the facts and what's going on. Sonya, thank you very much for your examples. We look forward to having you both on here in the future, but also for all you listeners and attendees, if you're in a different state than Texas and you got something going on within real estate and blockchain and your legislative and communications, let us know. Reach out to me, joe@propy.com. I look forward to hearing what's going on in your part of the world. Gwyneth?
And before we sign off, Joe, in the beginning of the call, and for those who might have missed it, you announced some of the news. Well, actually, it was Sonya who was kind enough to announce some of the news that Propy has made in the last week. We had a monumental week and a half or so with some first. Sonya, did you want to recap what you said earlier?
Sure. Well, I know you guys were able to sell the first residential property as an NFT, which was really, really exciting. And today, I think you guys were awarded the Technology Pioneer Award by the World Economic Forum. It was amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much for,
Thank you. And
recognizing that.
If anybody out there wants to learn more, visit our website. You can type, if you want to learn more about the NFT and Propy's transaction, you can go to Google search Propy NFT. And if anyone else wants to have further discussions, just reach out to us here at Propy. Sonya, Lee, thank you very much. Attendees and guests, thank you for watching this week's installment of Propy's weekly webinar. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you guys on a pilot in Texas soon.
I'm going to reach out. I do have a request for some land to go up as an NFT. So I'll keep you posted.
Sounds great.
Exciting.
Thank you all, and have a good day.